Welcome to Wrasslin Raw! Alright, you're listening to Wrasslin Raw, the podcast that takes you back to when Raw became war and Attitude ruled. Thank you for joining us. You're here with Ryan Arico.
Well, by diddly-do squat, we're serving up the coldest dish in town tonight.
Joe Giammatteo.
China is sexy, huh? Well, to some people, I'm sure she is.
I'm the one and only Jason Bartlett, and we're going to examine WWE history one pay-per-view at a time. That's right, folks. This is a special pay-per-view episode, so pay-per-view stipulations are in effect. We're going to be talking about our star ratings. Joe's going to be giving us Meltzer's star ratings. We're going to be talking about whether or not we got our money's worth. It's going to be a fun-filled, spectacular episode here. But before we get to all of that, just a couple notes to throw at our listeners here at the top. Next week here in America is Memorial Day via our recording time, and we're going to be taking the holiday and not recording, so there's going to be a gap in our release schedule. Nothing out of the ordinary, just doing some traveling. So be aware of that. Look for us the following week whenever we give you the Raw that follows this pay-per-view. Also, we were talking before going on the air here about how we could potentially increase some of our listener base. Joe, what kind of ideas do you have about that?
Yeah, speaking of star ratings, the best way to do that, I guess, for our listeners is to go on your podcast platform and give us a star rating on there or write a review. That would be much appreciated, even if it's just a short review that just says, "Unbelievable," about our show. That is always appreciated. Wherever you listen to this podcast, we would love to hear from you with a review, even if it's YouTube. If you're listening on YouTube or Facebook, give us a review on there and comment as well so that we can get those algorithms moving and spread the love.
Yeah.
Get out there and give us a push.
That's right.
Push. I can't wait to read 28 reviews that just say, "Unbelievable." Give us five stars.
We lost everyone.
Gone. Completely gone. We're back to just really masturbating here like we have been the past few years.
And the bots.
Well, yeah, and the burner phones too. Let's not forget about them. In this episode of Wrasslin Raw, we're going to be talking about the 1997 King of the Ring. This pay-per-view was recorded on June 8th, 1997 at the Providence Civic Center in Providence, Rhode Island, and features Vince McMahon and Jim Ross on commentary. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Ready.
All right, then, let's get into it. This pay-per-view had movie voice guy doing the intro, but in this weird 1950s sci-fi announcer style. It wasn't like what we're used to with some of these more high-end pay-per-views. This video package highlighted the King of the Ring tournament and the possibility of the first black WWF champion. Vince was screaming the welcome to the King of the Ring, and I hated it. I think I just all around hate Vince McMahon on commentary, and I'm never going to let up on that. At least Jim Ross is there with him, though, to soften the auditory blow as we go into our first match of the night. Hunter Hearst Helmsley with China defeats Ahmed Johnson by pinfall in 7 minutes and 42 seconds in a King of the Ring semifinal match. I loved here at the start that JR said if Ahmed doesn't win the King of the Ring, it's a toss-up between the other three finalists. No shit, JR. China's bodysuit was really highlighting that bionic musculature. Goddamn. And I loved Vince saying that you couldn't get further apart culturally or any other way than Ahmed and Hunter. Damn true. Damn true. Hunter did a great job of making Ahmed look powerful at the start of this. Ahmed did what he did best by no-selling everything, and Hunter looked great bouncing off of him. A good chunk of the 7 minutes of this match was spent with Hunter avoiding Ahmed because it seemed like almost every time they locked up, Ahmed no-sold and Hunter made it look good, and things got a little stale in that regard. I was shocked when JR reminded us that both of these guys were former IC champions. I had completely forgotten that these guys had the Intercontinental title. There were a few miscommunications in this match. It was hard to tell who was at fault, but they were worked through pretty smoothly. Up until the spinebuster from Ahmed, that looked weak as hell. And the finish came from a really weak knee to Ahmed's gut that set up a spine buster. That was after China had distracted things. And we got hurried along from there. Up until the finish, I was at 2 stars on this match, not necessarily because I enjoyed the match, but because it was doing a great job of making Ahmed look good, bringing him back from those losses that he had. It highlighted how great of a worker Hunter is, and while I wasn't emotionally invested, I was able to respect the match as a whole up until the finish, which is what ruined it for me and took it down to 1 star. Joe, what did you think of this?
Well, I'd like to point out that China has the perfect amount of baby oil on her body. Just a thin layer, very respectable, and Ahmed Johnson should take note. Ahmed Johnson is still getting a massive response from these live crowds, and it just continues to amaze me. And also, JR informs us that Ryan's neighbor growing up, Ivan Putski.
Yeah, I had that noted as well.
Yeah, he trained Ahmed Johnson. I'm thinking it was only for a couple hours, maybe.
Yeah, no wonder he went into hiding in western Pennsylvania, right down the road from Ryan.
I agree with you, Bartlett, on the finish. China jumping up on the apron, that was enough to distract Ahmed, I guess. That was a little weak. Ahmed not knowing how to take a pedigree almost earned him a broken freaking neck because he came down straight on his dome. So I give it 1 star. I think even though it got the crowd hyped up pretty good, it just didn't have much excitement for me, watching it from home.
No, I'm in complete agreement as far as, how this match actually was. Ahmed Johnson, he's never going to bring us, I think, a 3-star or higher match. It's always going to be a 1 or a 2-star match. And this is no different, even with Hunter, who, does his best to put Johnson over, and he does okay there, but he's finally losing. So that's a good thing. I mean, Joe, you pointed out he's super over with the fans for whatever reason, but it seems like the people backstage aren't over on him anymore because he's losing left and right at this point. Deservingly so. He shouldn't be getting the push anymore, and Hunter and China should be. So that's what we're getting here. Shitty ending, and, Bartlett, it's funny, we had pretty much the exact same thought. I was watching this, and I was leaning towards a 2-star just because it was a serviceable match, but then the ending came, and it knocked it down to a lukewarm 1 star.
Yeah, Ryan, you said something that is very poignant, I thought, here. Ahmed never having greater than a 3-star match. That's a hell of a statement. I think it's 100% true.
Yeah, I mean, we might be wrong if we go back and look it over, but yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah. Joe, what'd Meltzer have to say about this?
Meltzer also gave this a lukewarm 1 star. He said the crowd was incredibly hot for this match, but this match was ultra slow paced and they did very little.
Yeah. That's pretty spot on. All right, guys, let's move it along here to our next match. Mankind defeats Jerry the King Lawler by submission in 10 minutes and 24 seconds in a King of the Ring semifinal match. Mankind started with a promo in the ring highlighting the fact that Mankind and Paul Bearer have apparently parted ways due to Paul Bearer's increased focus, we'll say, on The Undertaker. Hopefully that means Vader's out of this specific picture too. Mankind's promo was great, asking what kind of king Mankind should be, attacking Jerry Lawler, and then even throwing a bang bang in there like Cactus Jack. He did that a couple times, and of course I popped for it. Then we went backstage to Todd Pettingzoo with the King to review how the King got to be in this stage of the tournament. And once again, I hate the fact that this has happened after entrances have started. I don't know if it's just some minuscule OCD thing with me or what the fuck this is, but it just bugs the hell out of me every time we see it. They should be getting this stuff out of the way before entrances start. The King came out on the microphone while talking to Pettingzoo. He leaves Pettingzoo backstage and then emerges through the curtain still talking, and it went on forever. He did a full loop around the fucking ring, and when they were actually in the ring and getting down to some wrestling, the work looked good at the start of things. But Lawler spent a lot of time doing anything but wrestling. There was a lot of focus on Lawler using some kind of hidden weapon that he kept pulling out of and putting back into his tights, and that just does nothing for me at all. In this more modern age, I suppose you could say that I am more inclined to be intrigued by steel fucking chairs and ring stairs and the things that are commonly used, not this obscure, we don't know what it is, maybe it's a roll of quarters thing that guys pull out of their tights. Unfortunately, after that, I just sat back watching this, not because I was enthralled, but because I was kind of bored, which I hate to say. We finally got to the finish with the application of the mandible claw, and that was that. I loved the fact that the fans were cheering Mankind here, but sadly, that was about it. I was in no way excited about Jerry Lawler being in the ring. I don't care that Lawler was doing all of that shit-talking, and I didn't care about Lawler as an entrant in this tournament. I ended up giving this 1 star because I didn't feel like it deserved a dud, but I also did not feel like it deserved anything higher than that either. Ryan, what'd you have on this?
So we're going to be in agreement 2 matches in a row here. I'll start out saying by the end of this match, I too was only at a 1 star, which is sad because I don't typically give Mankind matches that low of a rating, but it started off with, Lawler backstage, and as he walked down, it's like he reverted to the Jerry Lawler of 2-3 years ago.
Yes.
It was him doing the long, drawn out, making fun of people in the crowd shtick. And same thing in the ring. He was just playing that cartoony version of himself, not the real wrestler version that we got like a week or 2 ago. So
yeah,
if we would have got that version of Lawler, this could have been probably not more than a 2. I mean, maybe a 3, but probably a 2 star. It could have bumped it up at least a little bit. Mankind cut a babyface promo out here. I mean, this, I don't know if we could call it an actual turn, but it's almost like a soft babyface turn here for Mankind. And during that time, I saw a sign out in the crowd. It was just an email. Did you guys see it? Fate.
Something
177558 at AOL.com. I emailed the email address because I figured, hey, let's see if they're going to put their email out there huge on a pay-per-view. It didn't get bounced back, so
wow.
It's still a live email.
Unbelievable.
I also did a search for the email, and I think I may have came out with a more modern Gmail account. I might try that one just to see if we can get some words from this guy. I think I have his name. I'm not gonna dox him right here, but
wow.
I always thought it would be the wrestling that killed this podcast, and here it's because Ryan goes to jail for stalking. Fuck.
That was more interesting than most of this match, sadly. Once the King got into his cartoon antics, Mankind, he did a perfectly fine job, as Mankind typically does. He takes these punches well, but unfortunately, Lawler dragged it down into the 1 star.
Yeah, I want to start by asking you guys a question. Do either of you happen to know what the purpose of the Mankind interviews with JR were? Like, was their intent to turn him babyface with those? I don't know if it's been documented anywhere.
If I remember from what JR said, it wasn't necessarily to turn him babyface per se, more to make him more comfortable with the fans.
Yeah.
I don't want to give away the ending, but in the final installment, I think it's made pretty clear that he's not a babyface in what he does to JR. Right. But I think it's just to make him more comfortable with the fans.
Yeah, I just wondered because, I mean, to me, he's a babyface now and there's no going back.
Yeah.
And even, Ryan, I'm glad you pointed that out with how the interviews end, because even with that, it kind of makes him like that Stone Cold style babyface.
Yes.
So yeah, that's one thing I noticed here. And he cuts this promo or interview, whatever you want to call it, in the ring, which I thought was really great, but Vince just ruins it with his cartoon laughing like a ha 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 ha, which really just ruined it. And then Lawler, like you guys said, he comes and does his stand-up routine on the way to the ring. I'm just not a fan of that. I'm also not a fan of Lawler continuing to use a foreign object that ultimately has no effect on Mankind.
Yeah.
Usually when guys do that, that's the type of thing that puts a guy down for good.
Right.
I didn't like that. I didn't think this match was great. I gave it 2 stars, though. Like I said, I didn't think it was great. However, I think it told a good story with the neck favoring that Mankind was doing. And honestly, guys, if I'm watching this in 1997, I feel like Mankind is kind of like the favorite to win this thing.
Yeah.
And that's a testament to the work that they have done building Mick Foley's story and getting him over week after week.
Another thing with saying that he's turning babyface is all night commentary is putting him over. I mean, they're just, he's the most incredible, most resilient.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just all over him all night.
Well, not only that, but you have him going up against Jerry Lawler, who is playing a heel character here. So,
yeah.
Great call on the storytelling, though, Joe. I didn't even think about it that way, but I think you're absolutely right. It really carried throughout this pay-per-view and helped to tell that story later on.
Yeah, definitely. And Dave Meltzer, he gave this 1 3/4 stars. He said that he did not like Mankind's interview before the match. He noted a lack of crowd reaction. The only person laughing at the humor was Vince McMahon, since nobody else seemed to understand or think it was funny.
Well, I've noticed a lack of punctuation in Meltzer's fucking writing. Jesus. All right, guys, let's go now to Todd Pettingzoo backstage with Brian Pillman. Pillman was wearing an Austin 316 shirt with the 316 crossed out and 6997 written underneath it in reference to their scheduled match on Raw following this pay-per-view. Pillman feels happily responsible for pitting Austin and Michaels against each other, saying he's here to watch the boy toy kick that rat's ass. Meanwhile, Austin was sneaking up behind him the whole time. Austin, of course, starts beating the shit out of Pillman there in the men's room. When they make it a point during that fight to get Pillman into a stall, Austin shoves Pillman's head in a toilet, and production cuts to the Dave Hebner camera, which is apparently permanently mounted in a downward view of the stall to catch all of the action going on in there. And that's where this segment ended. Before we go any farther, I do have to stop and ask, though. Let's go with Ryan first on this one. Do you have anything on Austin just finally getting his hands on Pillman here after these weeks of build-up?
It was a surprise to me, and I thought they made this segment work pretty good, especially with Stone Cold sneaking up behind him. But I do have to worry that this is going to be an excuse for why we don't get Pillman versus Stone Cold come Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, I liked Austin sneaking up on him. I thought that was pretty funny. And Brian Pillman, I think, did a good job selling it. A lot of times when that's happening, you can see the guys kind of peeking behind their back. But Pillman didn't do that. I thought this was pretty good. The bathroom stuff was kind of, I mean, it's Vince's toilet humor again. And then, he ruins it by saying, I guess he gave him, you'd call that a swirly? That kind of ruined it, but I did like the fact that Austin snuck up on him like that.
All right, guys, things moved along quickly from there, so let's go to our next match. Goldust with Marlena defeats Crush with Clarence Mason and D'Lo Brown by pinfall in 9 minutes and 56 seconds. The idea of 10 minutes with Crush was not a great way to go into this fucking match. JR mentioning Crush's forehead tattoo was hilarious because we all knew that was going to wear off.
Celebration of war.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Celebration of dipping the honey. Goldust had his face paint switched up again, which I thought was cool, but Goldust was acting way too upbeat during his entrance, almost Dusty Rhodes-esque. I mean, not totally, obviously, because he's got still the Goldust thing going on, but just making gestures and facial expressions that do not fit what I prefer Goldust to be, which is aloof and bizarre and just weird and out there. That's the good Goldust. Commentary's focus on the bullshit around Goldust also started this match off on the wrong foot. All of the Dustin stuff and Terry being the CNN makeup artist. We've commented ad nauseum on that. But again, I hate to say it, but Crush. This was not very exciting, and it was all because of Crush. Goldust didn't do a very good job of, improving things either, but felt like they spent half their time in that fucking chin lock in the middle of the ring. And I think commentary realized how dull this match ended up because they were really trying hard to inject energy into the match. There was a lot of Vince's boisterous fake laughter going on throughout all of this. The Nation of Domination there at ringside became a distraction when they went after Goldust, but thankfully that signified the end of the match as Goldust was able to hit a pretty good-looking DDT on Crush to get the pin and the win. That unfortunately was followed by Goldust and Marlena practically making out in the ring afterwards, with Vince fake laughing and saying, "Well, they are husband and wife." This was a fucking dud for me.
Just to make sure we're going to highlight, he's not gay. Did you get that?
Yeah.
He's straight.
Yeah.
Dud.
Make it
fucking
very
dud.
clear he is not gay.
Get Fink on the announcer. He is not gay.
You may think he is. However, he is married to Terry.
Dud. Nothing going for it. Joe, what'd you get?
Oh, Jailbird. So as we do this podcast, we realize there are things that just overstayed their welcome. Jailbird Crush being one of them, and Vince McMahon on commentary is another.
Yeah.
When did this version of Crush debut? It feels like forever.
Yeah, 92.
Yeah.
God, yeah.
Man, he's a heel. He never speaks. He has zero heat. He should never have a pay-per-view match, really. I mean, this is a piss break match if I've ever seen one. It was so boring. Another weak-ass finish, and I still hate this version of Goldust, too, so I gave this a dud.
Yeah, I mean, this had no chance from the beginning. Even JR, I was hating what he was saying when he said, call him Dustin Reynolds, call him Dakota's father, we call him Goldust, It was just like, shut the fuck up. And then he goes on again. Did Marlena do the work for Larry King? Just stop it. Just fucking stop it. And then Crush. I just talked about all the stuff I hated about JR. I mean, could you imagine what I thought about fucking Crush? This was a rest hold match. Bartlett, you pointed that out. It was a 10-minute match. 7 minutes of it was a fucking rest hold out of Crush. Shitty. Just shitty. If you can't tell by my reaction, it was an absolute dud.
Yeah. Yeah, between like you guys have both said, between the rest hold and fucking Crush, it really feels like we're in 1993.
Yeah,
like just bullshit. Joe, what'd Meltzer have on this one?
Meltzer said that Crush is the most electrifying and resilient.
Oh my god.
Nah, he gave it a dud. He said this match killed the crowd.
Yep, fucking spot on again.
Crush came out with a fucking hammer and just threw it at the people's face.
The ones who were not taking a piss.
Yeah. The lucky souls.
There was a sudden spike in concession sales at this point. Let's go now backstage to Doc Hendricks. Doc's back there with Sid and the Legion of Doom, cutting promos for the upcoming match. Hawk gave his customary "welp," and all three of them cut very 80s, screaming in each other's faces promos about whether they can trust each other going into this match. That was followed by Todd Petting Zoo with the Hart Foundation, this being the Bulldog, Owen, and the Anvil. And I laughed that the Anvil was holding one of Owen's slammies because he doesn't have any gold of his own to hold. Owen Hart gave a great promo, and when it was the Anvil's turn, it fell flat. This was another brief one. Joe, did you have anything noted on these promos going into the 6-man tag match?
Well, LOD and Sid, I just had that all of them probably blew their voices out completely. This was the most gassed up interview I've ever heard. And Anvil, his crazy laugh that he does is kind of annoying too. I know it's something that he's done his whole career, but I don't know. It just seems misplaced.
I don't have too much more to add. Yeah, the LOD Sid interview backstage, it was just great 80s promos there. I liked it. And the Hart Foundation, it was fine, except for Anvil.
Yeah. Well, let's keep that trend going with our next match. The Hart Foundation, the Bulldog, Owen, and Anvil defeat the Legion of Doom and Psycho Sid by pinfall in 13 minutes and 37 seconds in a 6-man tag match. Owen and Animal looked good at the start of this, and Sid was being weird in this, like during his entrances and leading up to his first bout in the ring. I mean, weirder than usual. He was really hamming it up like a babyface instead of like a psycho, which got him over as a babyface. Things kind of went downhill when the matchups changed up, though. Sid and the Bulldog was a little weak. Hawk and the Anvil was even weaker, although in that case, it was strictly because of the Anvil. And once again, I was sitting back with this one because it had a few things working against it, namely the fact that I fucking hate 6-man tag matches. And the fact that Anvil just isn't quite fitting in with the guys around him here. We got the word that next month the pay-per-view will be the Canadian Stampede. So I'm excited to watch that. And I just want to say again here how much I think I've come to dislike Jim the Anvil Neidhart. I feel bad saying that, but in my opinion, he really fucking looked like garbage in this match. Owen ended up getting a fast pin, and they played the original high-energy music, which was odd, and I mean, I'm not complaining, but from there, things quickly moved away. So, hate to go there, but throwing a dud out on this match. It had a few things here that I'm not going to recap. You know, some good things, but not enough of them were to overcome the sloppy booking and poor format of the 6-man tag. Ryan, what'd you think of it?
Yeah, you know, I can't press you too hard on giving it a dud. 6-man tags suck. You know, it doesn't matter. Even if you have good tag teams involved, which we do here, Owen Hart and the Bulldog and the Road Warriors, they're great. They're awesome tag team, but throw them Jim the Anvil Neidhart and Sid on their team and make it a 6-way and it falls apart. It just became kind of boring. I didn't really care going into this match. We kind of covered that last week about how they hobbled this match together, and it didn't really get our blood pressure pumping too much. But unfortunately, the actual outcome of the match didn't either. For the crowd, LOD and Sid, when they came out, they went crazy. So I guess maybe the crowd got what they wanted, because that is definitely team babyface there at this point. Yeah. Both of those people are way, way over. I thought there was enough in here that I didn't go a dud, but I couldn't go any higher than a 1-star.
Yeah, it seemed like with the 1980s promos that they did before this match, it almost sounded like they were trying to kind of wedge a story in there that can Sid be trusted.
Yeah.
So I was thinking like, okay, maybe are we going to see a Sid heel turn here, or maybe the start of it? But of course they did not give us that. I mean, this was a 3-on-3 tag match that had absolutely no substance going into it, and that's exactly what they gave us. Anvil was horrible in the ring, but I do have to say that Jim Ross, when Hawk and Anvil were in the ring, he said that they collide like a Mack truck and a Peterbilt, and that did get me a little hard, I will admit.
Worked you up a little bit.
Yeah. This was an ugly finish because Sid sucks in the ring. I don't know. I didn't think this was dud status, but there really wasn't anything remotely exciting to me, so I went with 1 star as well.
What'd Meltzer think?
He gave it 1 3/4 stars. He said that Owen did a good job here of carrying this match, but Neidhart and Hawk were pathetic, and Sid was both good and bad depending on the spot.
Yeah, well, can't see it any better than that, I suppose. All right, let's keep it moving. We're going to go backstage next with Todd Pettingzoo and Mankind. This was a real brief one. Mankind cuts a decent promo going into his King of the Ring final against Hunter Hearst Helmsley, which is going to take us into our next match. Hunter Hearst Helmsley with China defeats Mankind by pinfall in 19 minutes and 26 seconds to become the 1997 King of the Ring. I was really excited going into this because this was really the first match of the card that I actually wanted to see. And this is what, the 5th match on the card? 4th match, something like that? So, go figure. As soon as they got out of the opening holds, I was enjoying this. Hunter looked fantastic selling for Mankind. I really liked the way he made Mankind's offense look devastating. Usually it's always Mankind doing the hard selling, you know. That's not to say that his offense ever looks bad necessarily, but it almost made Mankind look more polished in a way, which is just strange to throw out there, I know. But this was just a refreshing reversal of what we usually see from Mankind. Maybe it's that new babyface aura he's got, I don't know. But I loved JR saying, when you're at the outside surrounded by steel and concrete, you're in Mankind's territory. Fucking goosebumps on that one. And I was also really excited to see how Chyna and Mankind may interact. If you'll remember, she had already given Mankind a crotch shot once before, but that was on Shotgun Saturday nights, and I was looking forward to maybe seeing something like that live. When Mankind got his head tied up in the ropes, pulling his mask off, I thought that might have been more significant than it ended up being. Maybe a little teaser, maybe not, I'm not sure. Mankind jumping off the apron to give Hunter an elbow drop. That looked rough as hell. He went hip bone first right into the floor before his elbow made contact.
That's how he breaks the blow.
That is true. I loved Chyna making the first distraction to prevent Mankind from getting the pin, and that signaled a trade of finishers, with Chyna pulling Mankind out of the ring to stop the mandible claw. That was after a failed attempt at a pedigree, and I was at first skeptical, but they showed a replay of Chyna pulling out Mankind and from the ring, and referee Mike Chioda definitely was not able to see it because he was flinching away at just the right second. I thought that was a great example of some worked interference there. I also loved Mankind selling the neck breaker from Hunter over the ropes. What a great visual. Hunter pulling off Mankind's mask and throwing it was exciting, as was the fact that it didn't look like Mankind was going out of his way to protect views of his face like he has in previous matches where his mask came off. He kind of rolled with it here. And that was followed by Mankind's head smacking into the steel barrier again, and then against the steel ring stairs again. But the real icing on the cake was Hunter giving Mankind the pedigree through the fucking announce table, complete with picture-in-picture replay. I'm pretty sure there was a guy right there in the audience near the table that said, "Holy fuck!" The great hits kept coming after that, with Chyna exploding the King of the Ring scepter over Mankind's shoulders. What a great fucking visual. It exploded. It looked like it was full of springs or something, and it just popped there, much like me all over this. So did Hunter, kneeing Mankind off the apron straight into poor photographer Tom Buchanan. That poor soul. I love that Hunter tried doing a one-handed pin after that. Mankind kicked out. Very nice touch, but Hunter followed that with a pedigree for a legit pin and win, making Hunter Hearst Helmsley the King of the Ring. I loved Hunter selling the exhaustion, even as he was yelling for his crown. Petting Zoo was apparently thrown into the ring by Chyna to coronate Hunter. We didn't get to see that
5-star.
If we had. I was a little less impressed by Hunter attacking Mankind with the crowd, though, because it was obvious that the crown was soft fabrics supported by styrofoam. Mankind kept coming after this, though, stumbling and crawling up the entryway. Chyna wanted to get a piece of that, but Hunter had to drag her away. Great little thing there. And I have to say that that was a great way to end this. It keeps progress moving, but also put everybody over. Guys, I had a hard time really getting into this at the start because the matches that came before it were pretty fucking lackluster. My energy was drained going into this, but once I warmed up, I was into this match, and by the time we got to the finish, I was thoroughly entertained. I ended up going with a very solid 3 stars here. Joe, what'd you have on it?
Well, it's interesting you say that because I noticed the crowd was completely dead for this at the beginning, and it's probably because of what they just saw, the 3 matches before this or whatever. So that was unfortunate, but I was really looking forward to this match because, again, kind of cheating. I know that these two have a pretty good feud around this time period, so I was looking forward to this. I thought it was interesting that this event is called King of the Ring, and this is not the last match. I thought that was a little strange. I know there's a World Heavyweight Championship match, but I feel like this probably should have been highlighted a little bit more. But maybe these two guys decided, you know what? We're not last, so let's give them some good shit. Yeah, and that's exactly what they did. Yeah. So Chyna and Helmsley, to me, this was the first time we've seen them work together really well. Because to me, guys, up until this point, Chyna has kind of been overshadowing Hunter Hearst Helmsley a little bit. Yeah. But I thought this was really good use of Chyna for interference. She pulls Helmsley out of the way, and Mankind takes that header right into the railing. The pedigree through the table was just fucking chef's kiss. I mean, that was just perfect. Perfectly done. The scepter to the back. Just legitimate carnage going on here. And even after all of that, the near fall to me, told a little bit of a story there. Like, you're going to have to pedigree me again, motherfucker. And that's exactly what he had to do to win.
Not to mention, there's no way you're going to get a fucking one-handed pin on me, you piece of shit.
Yeah. I'm giving this 4 stars. I didn't think it was match of the year material, but I thought this match just told such a good story. You know, like I said, I liked seeing Chyna and Helmsley work together as a team. And for Mankind, he's a full-blown babyface to me. He's taking this loss to this shit heel, which kind of makes it better. You know, it kind of makes that babyface look a little bit better. And Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Mick Foley just made you a made guy. So congratulations. I thought that Helmsley was kind of struggling a little bit up until this point, but this really put him over.
I'll kind of continue off you right there. You know, it reminded me of the Shawn Michaels match with Mankind. Obviously, Shawn Michaels was already over, but that match he had with Mankind on that In Your House was just such a brutal match, and it made people respect that Shawn Michaels could go through that type of a match. And I think Mankind did the same thing for Hunter here. Hunter owes Mankind a big thank you at the end of this for putting him over the way he did. And another really cool thing is, you know, as good as this match was, we're going to get some just absolute classics out of these two. Just like, 4 years from now, they're going to have some big feuds with each other. They're going to be some enormous matches that are just classics to this day. Another cool thing, you know, commentary did a great job. JR, he's already starting on that cerebral assassin moniker for Triple H. He brought up his intelligence a few times and once even dropped the word cerebral. That's kind of cool to see too. You know, this was a 20-minute match and they kept our attention, or at least they kept mine. They kept my attention the entire time. There wasn't really a moment that I was looking to get up and get a drink. I think I will give Vince a little bit of credit on commentary. He pointed out the clash of styles here, and he's right, but their styles meshed so well. I had to laugh, you know, Mick, he does this spot in every big match, the getting his head wrapped up in the ropes. And every time he does it, I'm just like, dude, you lost your fucking ear doing this. Just give it a break. No one's going to think badly of you if you just retire that move out of your move set. But no, he's got to do it, and it looks good. You guys both brought up Chyna's involvement. Great way to get her involved, and the way she just exploded that scepter over Mankind's back, it just added the special visual that a pay-per-view match needs. That pedigree on the announcer's table, I think that's the first time we see that, which that's another thing we're going to see a million times moving forward, the pedigree through the announcer's table. But it was great to have Mankind be the first one to get it, and he made it look great. Yeah, I was gushing all over this match. I, too, like Joe, gave it a 4-star. I think this is the best King of the Ring final that we've had. You know, we had, Stone Cold and Jake the Snake last year. Before that, it was Undertaker and Mabel. You know, I mean, no contest. This is the best King of the Ring final that we've seen.
Joe, what'd Meltzer say about it?
He gave it 3.5 stars, and he said the second half of the match built to a very good match. So he liked it.
Yeah, couldn't agree more on that one. Jake the fucking Snake. Good God. They had talked briefly in this about Austin winning the King of the Ring last year, but they conveniently glossed over that piece of trash in Stone Cold Steve Austin's ring.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Next up, we went to a video package highlighting the history of the Michaels-Austin feud. I thought this was fucking terrible. I hate to say it, but Petting Zoo was doing this voiceover, and it just went on forever.
Super 80s.
Yeah. We did finally get back to Vince and JR sitting at the ruined announce table. They were there to discuss the courage and resilience of Mankind, and there we go, putting Mankind over. He's definitely a babyface now, the way they were talking about him here.
Most resilient.
You know, Vince really pissed me off there because he said...
Something new.
He said, Mankind was put through the table with a devastating maneuver. Like, dude, just fucking call it the pedigree. Don't be an asshole.
You know the name. You fucking named it probably.
Yeah, put your guys over. Like, say the fucking move.
That was followed by Bret Hart coming down to the ring to join commentary, with Vince pointing out that so much of their equipment there was damaged that they didn't know if Bret Bret would have the necessary equipment to join them on commentary. Bret ends up summoning Todd Pettengill to get a microphone. I think I've said it before, but I'll say it again here. I love the leather jackets of the Hart Foundation.
I would have that noted as well, because I think this is the first time anyone more than Bret has one on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the Bulldog's is sleeveless.
Yeah.
It's a sleeveless leather jacket.
Yep.
Yeah.
The four of them have it, but Pillman doesn't. I distinctly tried to see Pillman's vest. He's got a black leather vest, but it is not labeled in any way, shape, or form like the rest of them are.
Well, remember, he's still not officially part of the Hart Foundation.
That's true.
It's the Hart Foundation and Brian Pillman.
They have to keep telling us that.
Our listeners can find a GoFundMe on our Patreon to buy the podcast a set of those leather jackets that's customized for Wrasslin Raw, by the way.
That's going to be about a $5,000 purchase.
Well, we'll get there. We'll get
Worth
there,
it.
definitely.
Yeah.
The bots, we'll just switch the bots over to hacking personal identification. That's all right. Bret's main goal here in coming down to the ring is to challenge anyone that wants to cross the border to come up to the Canadian Stampede and take on the Hart Foundation in the Hart's hometown of Calgary. He said he wouldn't be surprised if a bunch of superstars came down with bum knees and torn quads and spasming backs and found a bunch of excuses to not be able to make it. The Hart Foundation does try to join commentary, but there's technical difficulties there. They start a slight ruckus with Jim Ross and Vince, with Jerry Briscoe getting involved. Dave Hebner showed up there. He was apparently done in the bathroom and got his cheeks pinched by Pillman.
I said that Pillman grabbed him. He was probably wondering why Dave wasn't in the bathroom tonight to save him from getting that swirly, because he's always perving around the bathroom.
Well, because Dave Hebner had the official Dave Hebner camera mounted above the stall
right,
there.
Yeah.
So he's going to save that guy for later.
Dave view.
Eventually, the Hart Foundation does get ushered back to the locker room. After that, Doc Hendricks was backstage with Stone Cold Steve Austin, setting Austin up to cut a promo on Shawn Michaels. Austin doesn't want to cripple Shawn Michaels because he'd rather keep making money as a champion, but he warns Michaels not to turn up the violence factor because Austin will definitely meet it. As Austin was making his way to the ring, he encountered the Hart Foundation being moved up away from that gorilla position there, and they have some shouting, and Stone Cold yells a final, "I'll whoop your ass when I get back," before hitting the entrance. Doc also met up with Shawn Michaels backstage, who tried to cut a promo, but instead rattled off some barely intelligible words that might have been a sentence. We got a pretty huge chunk of storytelling here, so we can't really pass it up. Just briefly, guys, and we'll go with Joe first on this one. What'd you have on all of this promo stuff and the scuffle afterwards and Michaels and Austin's promos?
Well, I loved everything with the Hart Foundation. I thought that Bret cut a really good promo here. He put all of his guys over. He's really good at putting these guys over. Offering that challenge at Canadian Stampede next month was cool. Oh, man, I was really hoping that Bret was going to get Vince's headset and Vince would leave.
Yeah, me
but
too.
It didn't happen, so I was pretty disappointed there. But really good stuff here, displaying Hart Foundation as bullies. I thought it came off very well. I loved Austin walking past them saying, "I'll whip your ass when I get back," talking to the Hart Foundation. I thought that was funny.
The stuff that Bret Hart did in the Hart Foundation when they came down, it was really good stuff. And I'm just going to further talk about these phenomenal black biker jackets they have on, because I did a bit of a search to see, and they were completely custom. You could find some shitty, cheap knockoffs that are pleather from back in that day, but if you want anything that looks like that, you're paying for a custom-made leather jacket, which, you're talking thousands
as
of
you
dollars.
should.
Yeah. But those are just beautiful, just absolutely beautiful. Bringing up the Canadian Stampede and the challenge that they made there, that was great. And the comment about 28 guys coming up with bum knees was a just masterful comment by Bret Hart there as one final dig at Shawn Michaels. And then again, like you both stated, Stone Cold shit-talking them on his way to the ring just adds to it. It was just a really good setup segment that they had here.
I don't know if you guys noticed, but when they got into the ring for Bret to do his promo, that Petting Zoo was there to interview. He was going to do the interview. and Brett told him to get out of here. Get out of here. I fucking popped.
That's what made the promo work. Imagine if Petting Zoo was there to ruin it.
Right, yeah. He just grabbed the mic and said, get out of here.
What's going on with you and Shawn Michaels, Brett? Ugh. All right, guys, that all set us up to go into our next match. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Shawn Michaels ends in a double disqualification in 22 minutes and 29 seconds. Shawn continued to look a little slow on his way to the ring. He wasn't dancing. He even looked like he was having a bit of a hard time getting his entrance gear off. After the first series, there was a little bit of downtime while the superstars were milking the crowd, and then it looked like I had to go back and rewind this a couple times to see what was going on at first. It looked like a younger guy with what appeared to be Down syndrome ran to the apron of the ring to try to climb in the ring.
Vince or JR referred to him as a Special Olympian, so I don't know if maybe they were there as a group.
Yeah, I do remember a couple years ago whenever they were doing their Special Olympics crossover stuff. That was in Rhode Island too, I think.
Right, so that's why I think this was something with that as well.
Okay. Well, security ended up restraining the poor kid, and Shawn Michaels came out to do something, not sure what there, but Austin jumped him from behind, and they started brawling at the outside. That little guy apparently kept having issues because we kept seeing security at the bottom of our screen. It looked like they had him down on the ground. I'm not sure what exactly was happening there. Eventually, Shawn came over to help the kid leave. What a fucking surreal series of events that was. But I do love that it was capped off by Austin sitting on the ring ropes to invite Michaels back into the ring. What a fucking professional move that was, and a smart-ass one, too. I loved it. Once things got going, the work was fast and tight. Even the shaky spots were worked into smooth moves. But to be clear, there were shaky spots, a variety of miscommunications. Every one of them were covered up well. I loved the test of strength that Austin worked down on Michaels, with Austin getting in Michaels' face. But that wasn't the only talking going on here. There was a lot of spot calling with what looked like Austin in charge. That combined with how Michaels was acting earlier kind of makes me think that Austin had to walk Michaels through this, maybe. I did appreciate the energy in this, though. Both competitors were absolutely giving it their all. Austin's clotheslines were consistent throughout this, and so was Michael's selling of those clotheslines. Unfortunately, I did not care for the referee bump that started the finish. It prevented Austin from getting the pin with his stunner. But, that kind of ended up working out because Stone Cold decided to stun referee Tim White in retaliation for taking the accidental bump. After that, Mike Chioda came out to check on Tim White. Chioda got sweet chin music from Shawn Michaels. That officially put this into what the fuck territory for me. That drew out a third official, Earl fucking Hebner, who made the official declaration that both competitors were disqualified. After some more involvement from officials, Austin and Michaels ended up walking out together, albeit reluctantly because not one wouldn't walk in front of the other. Guys, this one was very confusing for me. I wanted to like it. I wanted to be into it, but it just wasn't great at holding my attention. I was not a fan of the finish. It felt like nothing here got settled, that nothing was worked out, nothing was progressed. It feels like we're right back where we started with Austin and Michaels going into this, but then again, I'm not really sure where they expected or wanted us to be coming out of it. So I ended up going 2 stars for this match. It was an okay way to kill 22 minutes. Ryan, what'd you think of it?
To start the match off, Vince gives us a bold-faced lie. He says that he's not a fan of Shawn's pierced navel.
Oh,
and we know that's a fucking lie.
He wishes he could just... Fuck, never mind. All right.
And then I will give Shawn a little bit of credit. He did appear to maybe show up a little under the influence tonight, but I'm going to give him credit. He went out of his way to try and comfort this Special Olympian, to try and not have the security beat him down. And, so I'm going to give Shawn some credit there. We like to make fun of him saying he's selfish, but I thought he did a good thing there. Really, I thought that the pace of this match was really good. good. There were some missed spots, but we didn't have 5-minute abdominal stretches or like we got in the Crush match earlier. And to go along with some odd flubs, which you wouldn't expect out of Shawn Michaels and Stone Cold, JR has a rare flub here too, where he's kind of at a loss for words when he's trying to talk about Stone Cold last year having to get butterflies, and that's the word he couldn't come up with, butterflies. He was like, stitches, but not stitches. You know, what's the other word for the not stitches? And that was kind of funny too. But unlike you, Bartlett, as this match went on and on, I thought it really started to ramp up. I thought the pace picked up, and, you know, for fuck's sakes, this wasn't a Crush match. And I thought that was pretty clear as we started getting towards the end here. You hated this ending. I kind of thought it was fitting. We know in real life this was an audible they had to call. This was supposed to be a match involving Bret Hart, but instead we have the tag team champs fighting each other here. So we end this on a double disqualification. No one comes out ahead of the other. And when they walk away at the end, they're almost at a truce. As Vince says, you know, maybe they're coming away with a bit more respect for each other. I think that is all this match did in the end, was let's bring this tag team together a little bit more. They're not going to be at each other's throats anymore. There's going to be somewhat of a truce between the two. So I ended up going with a 3-star because I thought it was a very solid match.
That's a good call.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was pretty solid too. But the whole time while this match is taking place, I'm just thinking they kind of booked themselves into a corner here. Like how can you have one of these guys go over the other? It's just really impossible. You have to have a run in or something of that sorts. And the ref bump makes sense to me. I thought that, you know, doing that stuff and doing the DQ finish was really the only way that you could have this match finish. I thought the stunner on Tim White not getting Austin DQ'd right away was pretty hilarious. So just Mike Chioda comes in and continues the match, sort of. He almost got his head taken off twice. He hit his head on the ropes when he was sliding in, and then he took a sweet chin music. So I hope he's okay, Mike Chioda. And I was asking, please, for the love of God, stun the living hell out of Earl Hebner. And we did not get that.
5.
So once again,
5.
Yes, that would have been 5. I also thought the spot calling was pretty funny. You could hear all the mumbling and the okay, and what, okay. Like you could hear them talking the whole time. I thought it was pretty funny. But I did think this match was good. I thought they did what they could considering how they were going to finish. I thought it was pretty good. And I gave it 3 stars. Again, I think the finish was ideal. I think also, this is the type of match that kind of helps skyrocket Steve Austin to a main event guy. You know, he's having a match here with Shawn Michaels. So I think this certainly helps his trajectory to get, you know, to the top as a main event guy for sure.
What did Meltzer think of it?
He gave it 4 stars. He said both guys worked an excellent match.
Huh. All right. Well, let's keep it moving then to Todd Petting Zoo again. God damn it. At least we only get this fucker once a month now, I guess. Yeah. He's backstage there with Farooq in the Nation of Domination. We got a video recap of last week's weak assault on The Undertaker. But Farooq threw out the awesome line, Undertaker, don't you worry about Paul Bearer's blackmail. You worry about this blackmail. It's all me. And I fucking popped.
I fucking popped.
Yeah, that's just an absolute phenomenal line. I mean,
not only that, well, before that, he called us all hicks, too.
Yes, yes.
I popped on that.
I did, too.
We also had Doc Hendricks backstage with Undertaker and Paul Bearer. Doc was telling Undertaker that everybody loves him no matter what the secret is.
What the fuck was that?
Jeez.
He asked about Taker's thoughts. Paul Bearer grabbed the microphone and said, "Zip it, Lazarus!" And I fucking popped again. What a great reference there. Paul Bearer just kept on going on about being in control of the situation there, and The Undertaker rolled his eyes and ignored Paul's histrionics before going down to the ring. Again, some good promos here, so just briefly, guys, we'll go Ryan first. What else do you have on the pre-match promos here?
Well, as far as Farooq, you covered it. He dropped some just golden lines here. The Undertaker thing, what the fuck, Doc? Starting it off with, "We always have and always will love you, Undertaker?" Really? To the living dead man? The fucking Undertaker? "We always love you?" That was just weird. But Paul Bearer, thankfully, turned the ship around, doing a great promo, and then I liked Undertaker just basically walking away from him, saying, fuck off, Paul.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I'm not sure I've ever popped harder for an interview. I thought that was fucking amazing with Farooq.
Yeah, I've never seen The Undertaker look so awkward and uncomfortable before. Or Doc was telling him how much everybody loves him.
Well, there was that one time he had to randomly come out, remember, to the crowd and address the creatures and then just leave.
Oh, yeah.
That was kind of weird.
Or the time he had to display the American flag underneath his coat.
Oh, yeah.
There have been awkward moments.
Yeah. Well, let's see if it shakes out here with our final match of the night. Undertaker with Paul Bearer defeats Farooq with the Nation of Domination by pinfall in 13 minutes and 43 seconds to retain the WWF Championship. I have to say, I'm just really not a fan of The Undertaker as champion, and I was kind of reflecting on that fact going into this match, with this blackmail story going on around him, which I'm excited about, and I like the material being generated with that. I think I would just prefer one or the other, either champion Undertaker or blackmail Undertaker, but not both at the same time.
I think the only way Undertaker with the belt works is if he's the heel.
Yes. Yep. Which I don't think that's possible anymore at this point.
We're going to get there not too long.
Yeah, people will still love the shit that he does,
That's
though.
true, yeah.
But with that being said, we had a couple fucking professionals in this match, and it showed from the start. The work was looking good. Farooq hit a great-looking power slam on The Undertaker. How often do you see that?
It was smooth as hell, yeah.
Yeah.
I loved the swerve where the Undertaker did the rope walk, only to turn it into a crossbody on the Nation outside. That was fucking great, too. But the theme of the Nation interfering in the match quickly became prevalent, especially with commentary noting that they didn't think one official was enough for this match and that maybe there should have been more, or that maybe they should have been sent away from ringside. I loved The Undertaker kicking the ring stairs into Farouk's face. That was a great spot. But then we wound up sitting in holds for a while, and I kind of lost the momentum of my interest there. When The Undertaker reversed Farouk's crossbody into a body slam, it looked like it genuinely hurt The Undertaker to do that. The way that he landed that and his reaction afterwards, and the way he was behaving after the match just kind of seemed like he might have strained something, maybe. A minute or so later, we were sitting with Undertaker and Farooq, both laid out in the ring, and we heard but didn't see Crush shoving Clarence Mason and then arguing with Savio while D'Lo was standing there yelling and trying to break them up. We're going purely off of commentary on the fact that Crush started that fight. That argument was a distraction to Farooq, which allowed The Undertaker to scoop Farooq into a tombstone for the pin and the win. The Nation came in, and The Undertaker laid out both Savio and Crush, but Paul Bearer wasn't done yet. He got in The Undertaker's face to give it to Farooq one more time with a chokeslam, which The Undertaker does, and then again, which strained my suspension of disbelief because Farooq kept laying there waiting for it, and the Nation just kind of hung back and watched it. That wasn't boding well for what was going to happen next. The biggest surprise, Ahmed Johnson, came down to admonish The Undertaker. It was hard to understand what he was saying besides get it together. Commentary clarified for us that Ahmed was angry that The Undertaker was listening to Paul Bearer and angry that The Undertaker was continuing to hurt Farooq. The Undertaker tried to swing at Ahmed, but Ahmed reversed The Undertaker into a Pearl River plunge, leaving The Undertaker in the ring with Paul Bearer yelling down at him. Eventually, The Undertaker got up and he and Paul Bearer tensely walked up the entryway as we faded to black. Guys, this is another one of those matches that felt like it came in two parts. The first part was awesome. The action looked good, and I was entertained. The second part started about when they started sitting in holds, and it crashed and burned from there. The Undertaker looked like he was, tweaked somewhere. The action stalled. The finish was weak as hell. And don't even get me started on the bullshit that is Ahmed Johnson in the mix in this, or the fact that Undertaker kind of ended up looking like a little bitch walking away from this. My opinion, of course, but I ended up giving this match a 1-star rating. The only thing that kept it from being a dud is that hopefully this is one step closer to getting crushed the fuck out of here. Joe, please, what did you think of the main event?
Well, I did not dislike it as much as you. I think for me, I went into this really thinking I was going to dislike this match. I don't know why. I mean, we're talking about Ron Simmons and The Undertaker. They're both great wrestlers, great characters. But for some reason going into this, I just wasn't excited. We start out with Vince talking for the 1,000th time about Farooq playing the race card. And I'm like, okay, are we still going to do this? Like,
you mean the race card?
Yeah, just let us have the match. And thank goodness we have JR there to tell us about Farouk's real pedigree, saying that he was an All-American football player who finished 5th in the Heisman voting. I mean, that's a pretty big deal.
Retired his jersey.
5th in the Heisman voting. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Thankfully we had him to tell us that, to really put him over. And I thought The Undertaker did some stuff in this match that really made this pretty good. And like that swerve dive that you talked about on the Nation, I thought that was fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
Undertaker crotched himself on the ropes. We don't see that very often. I thought that was good. Farooq going after Undertaker with the steps, and then Taker just kicks the steps right back into his face. I thought that was great too. So I thought there were some really good parts to this. I think that everything after the match, I think Paul Bearer is playing a really great heel right now. Mm-hmm. And I didn't love all the stuff at the end, but again, Paul Bearer put it over for me. I think that he's just doing a great job as a heel, selling this secret storyline that he has Undertaker by the balls with this storyline. And at the end of this, I was thinking, maybe I would give this 3.5 stars, but we are not assholes here, so I have no problem rounding up to 4. But then I saw Ahmed Johnson come down. And that bumped it down to 3 stars for me, because why? I don't understand. Ahmed Johnson just fucking lost to Hunter Hearst Helmsley. So why is he there? I don't understand that part of it. So that really ruined it for me, but still 3 stars.
My review of this, it's basically going to be both of yours put together. I thought that the actual match itself was really, really good, especially for two, what most would consider monsters. Most of the time, 2 big guy matches are very slow paced, and I thought it was pretty quick pace for 2 big guys. As the match started, Undertaker's taking off his championship belt. Did you see the sign behind him that said, "Kill Farooq"? Just, by God, these bloodthirsty fans.
This bloodthirsty hicks.
Yeah, just that, nothing else, just kill Farooq.
Jeez. I think last week I saw one that said something like Shawn Michaels must die or something like that. Yeah.
I enjoyed Farooq being able to match power with The Undertaker here. Bartlett, you pointed out that power slam. I think you did too, Joe. It was a thing of beauty. I don't know if I've seen a more perfect power slam landed on such a big guy. I liked JR ripping on the refs, saying how bad they've been tonight. Yes. Yes, they have sucked, JR. I completely agree. We all talked about The Undertaker doing his walk on the top rope, but then turning around and taking out the rest of the nation. That was a great spot. So there really wasn't much about the match itself that I could complain about. And if I was just giving the match a rating, I'd probably go 4-star, just like you were leaning towards, Joe. But fucking Ahmed Johnson, he comes out here and not only did he just lose tonight, but he then comes out and completely punks the fucking Undertaker, our world champ.
Yeah.
He fucking dodges his move and lands his finisher, and we end the pay-per-view. Basically, the Undertaker got up, I guess, at the end and walked away, but lifeless body of the Undertaker put there by fucking worthless garbage can Ahmed Johnson. This is where I was coming to, where it's kind of a mixture of both of your review, because Match-wise, 4-star. Ahmed Johnson coming in and adding his shit to the end, 1 star.
Yeah, this one was just so conflicting because, like I said, the first half of this was great, and maybe that just means that I'm a mark for the storytelling because it makes me angry that Undertaker didn't come away looking strong from this. You would think that by putting down Farooq, he'd come away looking like that much more of a badass, but he really didn't. He ended up tucking his tail and limping back up the entryway.
It's kind of what they're trying to sell us, he's being blackmailed. Yeah. So they kind of want to make him look a little bit vulnerable.
To me, though, it's like you could do that by still showing that he's under Paul Bear's, reign by doing the Farooq choking. But the Ahmed Johnson part just makes him look like a bitch.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, guys. What did Meltzer have to say on this?
He gave this match 2.25 stars. Okay. He said it did not appear that Farooq was taken seriously as a main event heel. That said, the two worked about as good a match as they could.
I don't know. I think I would disagree with Farooq as a main event heel because he did pretty fucking good in this.
Yeah, I didn't have any problem with what he did.
Yeah, I think so too. Maybe leading up to it, not so much, but I think tonight, he worked as a good main event heel.
All right, so, as I said, we faded to black, so let's talk about the most important point of all here. At a premium price of $29.95, did you get your money's worth? Ryan, why don't you take that first?
Well, no, I didn't get my money's worth. The first half of the card was terrible. And then we got a couple good matches, and even the finale here I enjoyed up until the end. And then Ahmed Johnson even ruined that for me. So at a full price, at a premium price, no, I don't think I got my money's worth.
Yeah, I mean, there was so much that was bad, but I think there was just enough that was okay for me to say yes. I think that I really loved that Helmsley and Mankind match. I thought that was great and probably should have closed the show.
Yeah.
I kind of like some of the stuff in between, too. I really liked the stuff with the Hart Foundation. Even with Austin and Michaels, I thought that match was pretty good. So I would say yes.
You make some really great points there, but I ended up deciding that I did not get my money's worth. I think there's a reason why nobody remembers or talks about this pay-per-view, and it's unfortunate because Hunter's match with Mankind was fantastic. Like, we all agreed, but it was buried in the rest of this card, and I just feel like it deserved much better than what it got, so not at all.
Just to bring up, talk a little bit more about the Hunter Mankind match, which, pretty much gets forgot about, is really just how important it is to both of them in their story developments. Yeah. And it gets thrown away because of the rest of the pay-per-view, but it's a very pivotal moment for both guys.
Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right. And I was kind of thinking going into this that this was going to be another pay-per-view like the past couple we've gotten, These have been sleeper pay-per-views leading up to this that we were all like shocked, like, damn, this was a really good pay-per-view. Why don't people talk about it more often? So like going into this, I thought that's what was going to happen again. But unfortunately, kind of the opposites. There's a reason why nobody talks about this one. Joe, what kind of numbers do you have from the Wrestling Observer for us?
Well, the Observer readers, it seems like they enjoyed this show. It was a thumbs up of 67.7% on this one. 14% thumbs down and the rest in the middle. So, seems like they enjoyed this show. The best match was voted as Shawn Michaels versus Steve Austin. The worst match was voted as Goldust versus Crush.
Yeah.
Dave Meltzer adds that the show had an interesting plot irony, mainly due to the curtain call incident from a year ago and punishment that Hearst Helmsley had to take after that, and now he is the king of the ring. So that was interesting. And he described the show as a show that ended up being far better in actuality than it looked on paper. He said it was a solid, although unspectacular show.
Not sure what to add to that, so let's wrap it up then. That's it, folks. We are done with this one. I want to thank you again for joining us. If you like what we're doing here and want to connect with us, you can email us at WRASSLINRAW. Just add @gmail.com to the end of that to submit questions or comments. Check us out on social media and on every podcast subscription platform. While you're there, don't forget to follow and subscribe to get every episode of Wrasslin Raw coming to you every week. Give us a 5-star review and tell all of your friends to tune in to the most irrepressible Monday Night Raw review podcast on the airwaves. Next week, we're going to be taking a break in our release schedule, so don't be alarmed when a new episode doesn't drop. After that, though, we're going to take a look at the Raw that aired on June 9th, 1997, with matches featuring Brian Pillman, Bart Gunn, and many more. So, for Joe and Ryan, I'm Jason, and this has been Wrasslin' Raw.